In today's video, I'm going to look at how we can use intentional thinking to empower ourselves to create a better life. If you're looking for more joy, if you're looking for more love, for more peace, for more balance, for whatever, then this video is for you. Hello, Soraya here from Love Vegan Living, and I want to share with you one of the most important things that has been life-changing for me. This is life-changing. So we're going to look at how to use intentional thinking to change your life, to create the life you want, and to empower you. Before we get into it, go ahead, click the like button below and subscribe to the channel, and let's go. So first of all, let's start off with an example of how most of us think. Most of us think that a circumstance, a situation, makes us feel in a particular way. So let's say, for example, something terrible happens to you. You say, I've lost my job and it makes me feel bad. The man was rude to me and now I'm feeling sad. My partner neglected me and that made me feel sad. So the situation makes you feel bad. Would you agree with that? Well, the truth is it isn't actually accurate. This works, of course, for positive things too. So, lovely surprise dinner. Oh, how lovely, I'm loved. It makes you feel great. But the truth of the matter is, when we have a situation happen, it's our thinking that makes the feeling. So you get a situation, a bad situation, you think bad thoughts. Oh, how terrible, I'm useless, I'm no good, this is rubbish, I failed. And those thoughts are what make you feel bad. This is far more fundamentally powerful than you can imagine. Stop and think about it for a moment. If it's our thoughts affecting our feelings, then we can change our thoughts to feel different. And when we feel different, we behave different. Because when you're feeling down and bad, then you get nothing done. You procrastinate, maybe you stay in bed, maybe you cry. But when you're feeling like more empowered or more powerful energy, that's when you can get up and take action to make things better. So in this video, that's what we want to look at. How to take a difficult situation, shift our thinking so that we can take action to feel better and to do better and to get better. Many of us think that our thoughts are automatic. They just come and we have no control over them. We even may think that we are our thoughts. Like, that's me, that's my thoughts, I can't help it, that's what comes. But it's not that way. The reality is that we can control our thoughts, and our thought patterns tend to get habituated. So if we're used to jumping into a negative thought, that will become more and more ingrained. It will be the first response of the brain, and it will offer up those thoughts in times of crisis. So by the same token, you can build up the positive ones, and by thinking more often in a proactive, positive way, that's where your brain will jump to when you get into a difficult situation, to offer you a way out, because your brain is just doing what it's trying to do, is being a brain. So you are still able to influence your brain and take control. Okay, so the thing is, I want you to think about everything, every moment in your life, and think of one difficult time. Just really picture it. And when you think about that difficult time, what thoughts come into your mind? So what we do is we take that thought, we ask ourselves, is this thought empowering me? So say I lose my job and then I say, oh, this is terrible, I haven't got any money, I'll never get a job, I'm too old to get another job, and all these negative thoughts. And if I stop and say to myself, are these thoughts empowering me? Well, no, they're not. All they're doing is the doomsday talk, like, oh, it's so bad, and oh, I'm rubbish. So this is, we will need to get out of the doomsday talk and into the positive. Positive, I want to be really clear about what positive is not. Positive is not saying that something didn't happen. Positive is not putting your head in the sand and saying everything's wonderful when actually it's terrible. Positive is not pretending that something is different than the reality. That's not positive. Positive is like proactive thinking, empowered thinking, choosing thoughts that will lead to a better result. So when you're in this sort of situation and you have a negative thought that says, oh, I'm rubbish, and you say, okay, what else could I offer? What else can my brain offer? The opposite, to counterbalance. I'm rubbish. No. Oh, just because I've lost my job doesn't mean that I'm rubbish. There are other jobs out there. I can look for other jobs. So the counter story is what you want to encourage in your intentional thinking. Sounds simple, and it's very difficult to do at first. But what it is just a matter of reprogramming our habits. It's a habit. Be in the habit, get into the habit of actually watching what you're thinking and asking yourself, is it serving me? Does this thought produce an action that helps me get out of this situation? Because when we're in bad situations, what we want to do is take action to get out of them. It doesn't mean that every single second of a difficult situation can be solved just like that by changing what you think. But what it does mean is that if you change the way you think by empowering yourself with a positive, proactive thought, you are more likely to take action in alignment with that thought and actually find yourself the solution of the situation you're in. So the one thing is to stay aware of what your thoughts are saying to you. Our inner speak is what creates our feelings. So if we give ourselves inner speak that's completely negative and just judgmental, it's not producing any positivity of action, because the thought is creating the feeling and the feeling is creating the action. So we need to just create another thought that is a bit more empowering. We might not be able to step out of our pure negativity into pure positivity, that's not realistic. But what we can do is think a thought that's more empowering than the one we're discarding. So we go inch by inch more forwards towards proactivity, and we choose thoughts that actually do something for us. So, positive thinking is about taking action, proactive action, even if it's in your mind, to create a solution to the situation. And if there isn't a solution, to create progress from it, learning from it. You either win or you learn. You get it right or you learn. So everything that comes across our path can teach us something. I'd like to share that when you get something that you think there is no good in it, you're still learning. It's still giving you gifts, and when you can find those gifts and focus on them, you will be also helping to bring your thoughts up to an intentional thinking place. Let me give you an example. I was recently diagnosed with hypothyroidism, which you may already know, and when I first heard the diagnosis, I thought, oh no, how can this be happening to me? How is this possible? But then when I came away, I thought about it, and I took a day to go over all my thoughts and all my processes and decide what I wanted to believe about it. And I came up with an intentional plan, and that was that this is an opportunity to make myself healthier. So that thought made me feel more empowered, which meant that I could create a health plan, which meant that I could go away and turn this into a positive experience. No struggle, because my thoughts were telling me this was a positive opportunity. That's a learned behaviour. That isn't because I'm some positive guru. It's because I've practiced looking for the positive in a situation. And the positive meaning the gain. What do we gain from a situation? When a situation's really, really awful and there's nothing to be gained, then you say, okay, I accept it. What's the best I can do with this? There's always looking for the steps you can take towards gaining something from it. You can learn something, you can feel something, you can help other people with a difficult situation. That's always a great thing to learn. I mean, when we go through a difficult situation, it gives us the tools that we can go and help other people with it. So that's also another positive. And when you learn to look for these positives, you really help yourself to form neural pathways to get yourself out of difficult situations in the smoothest way possible. One of the great things about intentional thinking is that it actually has a knock-on effect, a ripple effect on the rest of your life. So you start observing your thoughts and choosing more empowering thoughts that get you better results. And that starts to impact your friendships, your relationships, your work, everything, because you become more aware of what you're thinking, your internal programming. You are taking control of the inner programming of your brain. Don't worry if it seems impossible, because it does start out difficult. And you'll never get to the stage where you're 100% in control of your thoughts. You'll never get to the stage where you're 100% in control of your actions or your emotions or your feelings. But you start and you become gradually more and more and more aware. And as you become more aware, you become more accepting. And as you become more accepting, it's easier to choose the new thoughts to replace the ones that are not serving us. You'll get thoughts sometimes that are like, oh, you are just so rubbish. At yourself. Why would we think that? When we think that, we can say, hey, I'm listening, I heard you. That's just my brain giving me that. I don't need to accept it. So if someone gives you a gift and you don't accept it, they keep the gift. You tell that to your brain that's offering you these insults and say, no, I don't need to accept that. I'm going to think of a more believable story. I'm not useless. I'm just struggling at the moment. I'm going to find a job next month. I will be fine. Or whatever the situation is. So intentional thinking could be called empowered thinking and can be called positive thinking, but be careful not to think of positive thinking as what we said, burying your head in the sand, because it's not. It's about proactivity. And you can use this in most situations. It's nothing to do with grief and loss. That is in its own separate area, and we need to go through grief and we need to deal with that in a different way, so we use our common sense and we apply intentional thinking to the things that are in our way that we do not want to have them pull us down. But for any other problems that you have, including health problems or money problems, job problems, anything, you can apply this question. First of all, write everything that you think is negative about it. And for each negative, write a counter example. So write an example of how you could take action to change it, or how you could think about it differently, or what's something you could learn from it. Every single point, you give it a counterpoint that you could focus on instead, and then choose that thinking and see how it goes. Have you used intentional thinking in your life? I'd love to hear about it in the comments if you have. Super interesting. It's such an inspiring tool. I find it incredible in my life. It's so life-changing. So I hope that you have great success with this and enjoy your intentional thinking from now on, bit by bit. Thank you for watching. Namaste.